Hello students, teachers, parents, history nerds, hello everybody, and welcome to Nutshelled History, where we lay out the facts, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We continue with our modern world history series by looking at aggression, appeasement, and war. Don't forget that there's a link for a fill-in-the-blank worksheet in the description. Feel free to use it. I just ask that you like and subscribe. I apologize for any mispronunciations ahead of time. I do my best. All right, let's go. Throughout the 1930s, dictators took aggressive action, yet they met only verbal protests and pleas for peace from Western powers. For example, when the League of Nations condemned Japan's invasion of Manchuria in 1931, Japan simply withdrew from the League. A few years later, Japanese armies invaded China, starting the Second Sino-Japanese War. Meanwhile, Mussolini invaded Ethiopia in 1935. The League of Nations voted sanctions against Italy, but the League had no power to enforce its punishment of Mussolini. Hitler, too, defied the Western democracies by building up the German military and sending troops into the demilitarized Rhineland. This went against the Treaty of Versailles. The Western democracies denounced Hitler but adopted a policy of appeasement. Appeasement developed for a number of reasons, including widespread pacifism. The United States responded with a series of neutrality acts. The goal was to avoid involvement in a war, rather than to prevent one. While the Western democracies sought to avoid war, Germany, Italy, and Japan formed an alliance. It became known as the Axis powers. In Spain, a new, more liberal government passed reforms that upset conservatives. General Francisco Franco, who was opposed to the new government, started a civil war. Hitler and Mussolini supported Franco, their fellow fascist. The Soviet Union sent troops to support the anti-fascists, or loyalists. The governments of Britain, France, and the United States remained neutral, although individuals from these countries fought with the loyalists. By 1939, Franco had triumphed. German aggression continued. In 1938, Hitler forced the Anschluss, or union with Austria. Next, Hitler set his sights on the Sudetenland. This was a part of Czechoslovakia where 3 million Germans lived. At the Munich conference, which was held to discuss the situation, British and French leaders chose appeasement and allowed Hitler to annex the territory. In March 1939, Hitler took over the rest of Czechoslovakia. Months later, Hitler and Stalin signed the Nazi-Soviet pact. They agreed not to fight if the other went to war. This paved the way for Germany's invasion of Poland in September of 1939, which set off World War II. Okay, here's your recap. In the 1930s, dictators were on a world tour of bad behavior, and the Western democracies responded with little more than finger-wagging. Japan invaded Manchuria, and when the League of Nations protested, Japan just walked out of the League and went on to invade more of China. Mussolini attacked Ethiopia, but the League's punishment was about as effective as a stern letter. Meanwhile, Hitler violated the Treaty of Versailles by beefing up Germany's military and strolling into the Rhineland, while Britain and France politely asked him to, maybe not do that. Their policy of appeasement was basically the diplomatic equivalent of don't poke the bear. Meanwhile, in Spain, Franco's civil war gave Hitler and Mussolini a warm-up act before the big show. Hitler then decided to expand Germany with the Anschluss in Austria and the Sudetenland in Czechoslovakia. At the Munich conference, Britain and France basically said, "Sure, take it, just don't cause any trouble." But surprise, surprise, Hitler wasn't done. He took the rest of Czechoslovakia, made a non-aggression pact with Stalin, and then invaded Poland, finally pushing everyone else to say, okay, now it's war. There you have it, folks. That is aggression, appeasement, and war nutshelled. Thanks for stopping by Nutshelled History. Appease me by cranking those like and subscribe buttons for me. How naive were they to think appeasement would work? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. See y'all next time on Nutshelled History.